Voiceover Emma, real quick before we start. This is something obviously I noticed it's not that big of a deal, but I really messed up the exposure of my camera. I do not know how to work it. I look pale as a sheet, so I am so sorry about that.
Hey guys, it's Emma. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a book review on this book, which I literally just finished. I'm not even kidding, 1 minute ago, like actually. So I'm gonna be splitting this video up into like a non-spoiler segment, you know, like a spoiler-free, and then a spoilers segment. I'll say when the spoilers start. I'm gonna try to do that thing on YouTube where you can like cut it up, but we'll see how that goes. So without further ado, let's just get right on into it. And oh my God, this book is, it's like, I just read it, like, well, no, but I literally just finished reading it and it is everything I would want to write in a book ever. It's so good. And I'm not just saying that, like genuinely. So let's just start with a little synopsis. I think my like little summary recommendations part is probably gonna be a bit shorter than the spoilers part because oh my God, I have so much to say, but I think you would enjoy this book, particularly if you like fantasy. There's a pretty good romance in there as well. And then also just like, it's got a very unique concept is kind of what drew me to it. Is like there's a lot of fantasy stories, but this one, I mean, the obvious note is that it like takes place in a prison, which is something I've never read before. But then of course there's like a lot of, you know, like kingdoms and stuff. Like it's very fantasy, but it's also very like unique. So I would definitely recommend it if you're like into fantasy, or even if you're like not the biggest fan of fantasy, if you know you like some fantasy books. I think it's really good. Let me think of specific books. Like if you like Six of Crows, you'd probably like this. It's not exactly the same vibe, but the prison kind of gives me the same vibe, and there are similar like trials and tribulations stuff. So yeah, it is literally so good. I would definitely encourage you all read it. It took me a bit longer to actually finish it because I am literally right in the middle of finals week. I have one final tomorrow, but I was like, I can record myself talking for like 10 minutes about this book because it is literally so good. Oh my God. Literally like reading it just made me like want to get back to my book, which I literally haven't touched since finals week began. But yeah, so I would definitely, I think the main character is really great. She's really like complicated, and there's a lot of, the one thing this book is really great about is the plot twist. Like I want to write a book that has as good of plot twists as this book did. Genuinely, like it was so good. That's all I can say. Like I don't want to spoil too much of it, but basically the premise is kind of like there's this girl, her name's Kiva. She spent like most of her life fighting for survival in this death prison, and we don't really know why she kind of like got in there. We kind of get like a hint that her brother was killed really like literally in the first part of the book, so this isn't really a spoiler. And her dad has since died, and she's taken over as the prison healer, and she like because of that isn't as like in danger as most prisoners, so she's been able to survive a lot longer, but she's also had to make a lot of sacrifices for that, like in turn seeing a lot of prisoners die. And her family, who's like, we kind of get the idea that they might be kind of like a big deal because like, you know, they don't really just send people to this prison for no reason, but we don't really get an explanation. Our explanation is only like a little bit. So she's in this prison and she keeps getting coded messages from her family being like, we're coming for you, like sit tight, don't die. And she's like, okay, easier said than done, but like whatever, I'm doing fine so far. But then the rebel queen, who basically it's just like basic like, you know, rebels trying to overthrow the kingdom. So the rebel queen gets brought in, and like she has to treat her, but she's totally unresponsive, like totally sick. And then like she is then got given another message by her family that's like, don't let her die, like she's important. So we're like, oh, like what? And so then the like, you know, the sick rebel queen, they're gonna put her through these things called the trial of ordeals, which are like these trials that it's like each one of the elements you have to survive like a really intense situation to do with fire, water, earth, and air, you know. And so this rebel queen is like full on unconscious. Like if she was dumped into one of these trials, she would not survive. And Kiva knows this, and she's also been threatened by like there's this rebel leader within the prison who's kind of like, take care of her or we'll kill your friend. And her friend is like this like little boy who's like 10 maybe. And so Kiva's like, well, gotta keep her alive. So she does, and she volunteers for the trials by ordeal just by having no magic. So she like really, it's like they're all entirely impossible. Like I'm not even gonna like give spoilers because a lot of the mystery of the trials is that she doesn't actually know what's gonna happen. But like there are definitely some like intense elemental situations that you could not survive without actually having magic. So no one's ever survived them either, obviously. And so basically she's like dealing with all this, and right before this there's this new inmate named Jaren, and he's kind of like love interest dude, but he's also like, he definitely gives some like, he's another person where we're like, okay, there's a lot more to his backstory that we just don't know. And so that's a thing. And then like there's this huge like outbreak going on in the prison, and she has no idea what's causing it. And as the healer, obviously she has to try to like fix it. But yeah, so that's kind of like the summary. I'd really, really, really suggest you reading this book. It was really, really good. And I'm just gonna jump straight into the spoilers because man, do I have a lot to say. Please click off if you haven't read this book, actually, because like the plot twists were some of the best plot twists that I've like read in a long time. Like some of them I was kind of expecting just a little bit, but like they were definitely like out of left field enough where they were surprising, but they also did make sense. So that's it. You've gotten your warning. Here we go. So many things. First of all, I was like totally sus of Nari from the beginning because she was like, you know, Kiva's really scared of like the prison guards, right? And she just like shows up and is like really nice to her as a prison guard, which is like kind of unheard of. So I kind of knew something was up with Nari. I did not suspect that her and Jaren had that connection because if you don't remember, if it's been a while since you've read this book, Jaren ends up being the freaking crown prince of this like kingdom. And Nari is like his bodyguard that was just like came with him into the prison. And honestly, the explanation for why he's there is like not that great. Like it's fine, but definitely that's some, like if I had to be really nitpicky, that's something that I would be picky about, because like the entire explanation for him getting in the prison is that he wanted to interrogate the rebel queen because he couldn't do that because the kingdom that had like ended up capturing her, like, you know, they know that there's rivalry between his family as the crown prince and hers because they're obviously trying to overthrow her. And so they're like, nah, you can't, you know, talk to her. We're gonna send her to the prison. And so he gets the brilliant idea to replace this dude that was supposed to go into the prison for him with himself. And like, fine, like Jaren's a bit reckless, but like, dude, like there's no way the royals would allow this to happen, especially after Mirren shows up for the trial by ordeal and it's like, what you doing here? And his explanation to Kiva was like, I found something to stay for. Obviously hinting at her. Boy, literally, there's no way the royal family, who he is the heir to, who he has all 4 powers, which has never happened since like literally the founder of their royal family, I think is what the book said. There is no way they would let him stay in this straight up like maximum security prison where he is just doing hard labor, like getting whipped. He's like not, I'm sorry. That's just me being nitpicky though. Also, this thing's focus is so bad. I'm using a different camera because I was like, my other one's like kind of bad as well, but this one is not doing a great job. Anyway, but the plot twist with Kiva, I'm in shock. Cause like I kind of suspected they had something to do with the rebels, cause like she was really sympathetic to the rebel queen, right? And she like told what's his face, Jaren and Nari. She was like, well, I understand where the rebels are coming from, and it's like, well, of course you do, because you're literally being like imprisoned by like all the kingdoms. But they didn't really like know kind of like the deal, and you literally don't figure out the deal until like the last page. So it turns out the rebel queen is her mom. I was not expecting, because she straight up hadn't showed any emotion towards her the entire time when her mom was like straight up dying. I digress. And yeah, so she's the rebel princess. I was kind of expecting her to be involved with the rebels, like maybe the princess, but that just kind of seemed like a bit of a stretch as the book went on. But no, not a stretch. That's what she is. Can you guys tell I'm losing my mind? But yeah. So now I'm very confused about her motives. I have the second book and I'm gonna start reading it after my last exam. I can't do any more. Like, I've honestly taken too much time away from studying already. But, like, I don't know where Kiva's gonna go from here. Because she's like, I'm going with Jaren to the capital and then I'm gonna take his crown. And like, sure, girl, like, sure, good luck, because we can tell she likes him, like, a little bit. Either that or she was straight up lying to us in her narration the entire time, which I don't think is really possible because I think the narration was like her internal dialogue, so you can tell she's like definitely feels something for him. So she is like, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna take his crown, and like, okay, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that is my review. Not even review, I guess just like commentary on The Prison Healer. Wow, maybe it's just because I haven't been reading like at all, but like, okay, like, wow, it was really good. So thank you guys so much for watching if you're still here by this point. And even if you watch the spoiler sections without reading the book, which by the way, you still should read the book. I'll always tell you to read the book. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go study for my final now. Bye guys.